So it's time to just be honest about what's going on with the Arizona Cardinals, and I was one of those people that were pretty high on what the Cardinals can do this upcoming season. But now we've just had some things start to stack up against the Cardinals, and we have to be honest here. The worst thing we can do is set unrealistic expectations for this team when it's all just been positive vibes recently. Let's not ruin what the Cardinals are doing by putting unrealistic expectations on this team. The preseason is basically over. We don't need to see a third preseason game to know what's going on between Clayton Tune and Desmond Ridder. So there's a few things in this special edition of the Ben Garcia Show where we're going to talk about the Arizona Cardinals preseason being done and some of the biggest things plaguing this team. Let's start off right off the bat. Darius Robinson for the Arizona Cardinals has suffered a calf injury, is considered a multiple-week injury after scan, sources say, from Ian Rappaport. Possible he could begin the season on injury reserved. If so, the earliest he would return would be week 5. Now listen, this is a Cardinals pass rush that I have not sugarcoated. If you come here to get actual good, authentic and honest Arizona Cardinals coverage, you have came to the right place. There are a few things that we're going to touch on in this episode of what exactly is going on with the Arizona Cardinals. I've mentioned the backup quarterback position we'll talk about. I've mentioned the wide receiver group, how I'm high on it, the cornerback group, how it has looked better at camp. But here is one thing that can totally ruin the Arizona Cardinals season. Their pass rush before the B.J. Ojulari injury was bad. And then you add the Darius Robinson now injury to it, in which he is going to miss likely week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. Those teams would entail the Buffalo Bills, week 1, week 2, I believe it's the Los Angeles Rams, week 3, the Detroit Lions, week 4, the Washington Commanders, and really only one of those games seems like a win in the column in the Washington Commanders. That'll be a Cliff Kingsbury homecoming game, and that'll be a game that I believe the Cardinals will win, regardless if they have Darius Robinson, regardless who they have on the field. But at this point, I have been the one pressuring the Cardinals, along with other people. This isn't just a new thing with me coming out and speaking my mind on this. But the Cardinals have to go make a move. Now, I have been very loud about the acquisition of Haason Reddick to this Arizona Cardinals team. I'm out on that. After thinking about it, after talking about it with other people, it just doesn't make a lot of sense for the Cardinals to go get Haason Reddick now. You would be paying an idiot tax for the New York Jets, who went and traded for a guy without having a framework of a deal done. They're not going to trade a guy for less than they got him for in the same offseason without him playing a singular snap. And then you're going to have to play the desperation tax, which is the fact that you don't have anyone on your pass rush that you believe in. So for that reason, you can't cripple the future of this team simply because you have a huge glaring hole at pass rush. Now there's Yannick Ngakoue out there. I'm not exactly sure what Jadeveon Clowney is doing at this point in his journeyman career. Maybe that's a name that you could go get. I'm not 1,000% sure he's a free agent. I'm just assuming he is. And if he's on another team, it's a guy that you could probably trade for unless he went and got a 1-year deal. I'm more focused on the Yannick Ngakoues of the world. What I don't want the Arizona Cardinals to do is to Steve Keim patchwork this pass rushing group, waiting to see who gets cut, picking up those players, and putting them on this defensive line. That's not going to make a move that's going to help this team. The problem with this Darius Robinson injury, and all the people out there that are saying, well, you were expecting a rookie to save this team? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I was kind of expecting Darius Robinson to be a key contributor in this pass rush, or at least making teams feel uncomfortable in the pocket for their quarterback. Getting pressure up the middle. What is the most important part of a pass rush if you ask Tom Brady? What's the one way to get a guy off his rocker and feeling uncomfortable? Pressure up the middle. It's exactly what Darius Robinson was going to do. I have been at training camp. I have been on the sidelines. I have talked with numerous people. Darius Robinson has looked really good. He was expected to be a key contributor to this team. That is not just me fanboying. And so him being off this team likely for the first 4 weeks of the season, it's a calf injury. It's probably going to keep him out. Let's just be honest. That's not something you want lingering and then potentially hurting something like an Achilles. If you want a cross-sport reference, Kevin Durant had that calf injury, re-aggravated it, ended up blowing out his Achilles. You don't want to do that with Darius Robinson. So, what are you going to do, Monti Ossenfort? It's time to make a move. There's no more sitting on your hands and expecting something to work out. That is not what you have to do if you're Monti Ossenfort. Now the Hassan Reddick business, you got to be out of that too. You waited too long, you're too desperate, and the Jets are asking for someone to pay an idiot tax due to their own incompetence. So you're not going after Hassan Reddick. Can you go get Yannick Ngakoue? Can you go replenish the defensive line? That's what you have to do. Because you are facing Josh Allen, Jared Goff, which, say what you want, is very, very good if you do not get pressure. The numbers back that up. And then you add a guy in Matthew Stafford who's a Super Bowl winner. And then potentially Jaden Daniels. You are facing Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Jaden Daniels, and Josh Allen in the first 4 weeks in the season. You have to make them feel uncomfortable. There is not a mandatory ask that you make the playoffs this season. And if you have that, that is unrealistic, and you are part of the problem with this Arizona Cardinals team. Now, we are asking for you to be interesting, and we are asking for you to play competitive football towards the end of the season. If you start the season 0-3, you will almost certainly not make the playoffs, and almost certainly not be playing meaningful games in November, December, and partially January. You just won't be. So you have to be able to make some additions to this team, Monti Ossenfort. This is your job. You cannot be going up against 4 potentially very good quarterbacks and 3 definite good quarterbacks. Guys like Josh Allen, who have played in an AFC Conference Championship game, Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff, 2 both Super Bowl appearancing quarterbacks, and Jaden Daniels, who's expected to take the league by storm by everyone else besides me this season. So the Darius Robinson injury is big, and it's something that could derail the entire Cardinals season, because it does not matter who you have back there in the safeties, in the cornerbacks, or in the secondary overall. You could have prime Darrelle Revis, prime Patrick Peterson, and prime Richard Sherman out there. If the pass rush is not generating enough pressure, any quarterback will pick them apart, and you can't cover wide receivers forever. They're just too good in this league. The Darius Robinson makes it so that Monti Ossenfort's feet to the fire, the Darius Robinson injury, puts Monti Ossenfort's feet to the fire, and you have to make a move. Now, it doesn't have to be something as big as Hassan Reddick. At this point, you have waited too long. The Jets are too dumb to see what they have done. You're going to have to pay a desperation tax. You're likely going to have to pay the idiot tax that the New York Jets have basically put on that trade. But you got to do something, because you cannot start the season 0-3 and expect everyone to still be on board. You have to play meaningful games. You have to take a step up to where later in the season you are not a laughingstock. And that's what you have to ask for in Monti Ossenfort. And that's what you have to ask for in Jonathan Gannon. Because if you don't, you are then asking for Kyler Murray and the entire offense to be what I think they can be, but to be now what they have to be in a top 5 offense. And there's a possibility that doesn't happen. So you can't put all that pressure on Kyler Murray and the offense, Marvin Harrison Jr., to just be a top 5 offense and get you to 9 wins. Because at this point, with the B.J. Ojulari injury and the Darius Robinson injury and the fact that we already expected this pass rush to be really bad, my prediction goes from a 9-8, 7th seed playoff team to likely a 6-11, 7-10, just missing the playoffs team. And that's tough, especially for everyone like myself who had high expectations. So Monti Ossenfort needs to make a move.